Well, Hillary Clinton's proposal to accept tens of thousands of additional Syrian refugees could run taxpayers $403 billion in lifetime costs if it's implemented. Is the Democratic presidential nominee's plan a good idea for the country? Joining us now is Democratic strategist Nimiki Kantz. She's the host of The Filter on SiriusXM Progress. Nimiki, it's great to see you this morning.
Good morning.
So importing a lot of Syrian refugees is one of those ideas that everyone we know is totally in favor of. Everyone in the press, everyone in politics, all the business community, everyone who's rich and well-educated and insulated from the effects of this policy is totally for it because it makes us all feel virtuous. Why don't you explain to me crisply why an unemployed machinist in Cleveland would be for this? What does he get out of this?
Well, it's actually quite simple. First thing, this is something that we've been doing for about 64 years. We're part of an international treaty that brings in refugees, and we actually bring in far fewer than most of the world, especially when it comes to Syrian refugees. You know, thinking about it in a really basic way, it takes the burden off of these other countries. The great thing about our country is that we are separated by an ocean. So they have to go through 5 screening agencies, the Department of Defense, State Department, Homeland Security, the UN, and one other that I forgot.
Okay, so I disagree with almost everything you said, but you still haven't answered my question, which is, why should the average American taxpayer who's not rich, who's not benefiting from the current status quo, see this as good for him or her?
Well, number one, it comes out cost neutral in the end. They're forced to reimburse their own flights. They have to take employment. They're heavily screened.
False. But leaving aside the falseness of what you said, why is it good? Why should the average person, the powerless person, the kind of person who's not for this, currently being lectured by the elites, why should that person be for this? What do Americans get out of this?
So what's going on right now is they don't have a firm screening process in Europe right now. They're coming in over little boats, and they can't screen them, and they're going through multiple countries. The EU does not have a handle on this. We are not accepting. It's a 36-month waiting period. We are not accepting it at the refugees at the rate that these countries are.
Well,
they're going through screening. And so what that does is it lessens the burden. When there's more screening coming from our country, it makes it a safer process.
So it makes this country safer to import Syrian refugees. That's what you're saying?
Well, when they're screened multiple times.
But it makes it safer than it is without them?
You know, if the visa problem is where we have the problem.
But why have any problem at all? Like, what is the point of this? I know it makes rich people feel virtuous and welcoming to bring in others and then shift the burden to ordinary Americans. But why is it good for those ordinary Americans? I'm still confused. Because the government exists on their behalf, right?
Because there is a problem in Europe right now, and they're coming through Europe without the screening. And so when you lessen that burden and they go through actual screening, we've never had a refugee, never had a terrorist come in through a refugee program. We had them through visa process, which is a problem. But the refugees...
So it's good for Germany, which destroyed its country by opening the borders. I get that. It's good for tons of other countries. I totally get that. But American taxpayers have got to be expected to care about their own country first, shouldn't they? I
understand the taxpayer argument, but they've actually done studies on this to show that it's neutral, because they take jobs, they have to take jobs, they have to pay taxes, they're reimbursing flight costs and a lot of the costs that you would think are part of the budget. So it ends up being cost neutral.
But we have massive unemployment in this country, massive. Our workforce participation rate is the lowest since the 70s. So why at a time when ordinary people who want to work can't find jobs, why would we be helping people from other countries get those jobs?
Well, that's a business problem. That has nothing to do.
That's a social and
when you have companies going overseas and settling overseas and taking jobs away from America, that's a problem.
Well, you just said the U.S. government is bringing people in and requiring them to get jobs that presumably some Americans would like. Why is that good for Americans?
You know, unfortunately, in a lot of these situations, they're low-level jobs like McDonald's, and you know, these are the types of jobs that they're getting that most Americans, especially educated Americans, which you know is a higher and higher rate every year, and those who are unemployed, are not taking. So that the jobs that we Americans are not taking anymore, or that we've left to younger people, or you know, people who are retirees. So it actually ends up being a cost.
So the black youth unemployment rate is like the highest in my lifetime. So you would say to them, sorry, it's going to a Syrian refugee?
No, I think you're jumping from one extreme to another, Tucker.
Seems related. But you've done a game job.
Thank you, Tucker. Without a voice.
It's great to see you. Even without a voice, you
somehow have a voice. 2 conventions later.